Alright guys, welcome back to another Fortnite video, and in this one, it is time to talk about the brand new update, the first update of Season 7, I believe, patch 7.01, and we're going to be going through all of the changes and secret changes that I think you guys really need to know about. Now, as you guys know, in this patch, the main thing that came out is the Infinity Blade. That is right, guys, this thing is crazy, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that, but specifically, we're more going to be going over, like, the stats of it, how much damage it does, and also talk about the rarity of that item, which is above legendary. But that's just one part of the video. Of course, we're going to be going over other things, such as a bunch of secret changes to creative, an awesome change to the stormwing that I definitely think you guys need to hear about, and more. So overall, it's going to be a very fun video, guys, and if you do enjoy the video, be sure to hit that like button down below. Always helps me out a ton. And on top of that, be sure to comment down below, which is your favorite vehicle in the game? Is it the stormwing, is it the quad crasher, or is it the ATK? 3 vehicles is honestly pretty crazy. Personally, for me, I think my favorite is the quad crasher, but what is your guys' favorite? Comment that down below. But yeah, guys, without further ado here, let's jump on into it with the first thing I want to go over, and this is right before the new Infinity Blade and like the different rarity that comes with it. But yeah, first of all, this is actually a change to the map. Now, you may have noticed it, you may have not, but near where the Infinity Blade actually spawns are some new buildings to loot. It's at Polar Peak, obviously, where the blade spawns, and we'll talk more about that. But it is interesting that there are more buildings around here, which makes it, you know, a better spot to loot. Before, you only had like the tower on the top and a couple towers lower on Polar Peak, but now you have this brand new building to go inside. I believe there's a chest inside there and some ground loot as well. There may be some other stuff like next to it, but yeah, it's a fairly big little area. And then if you go next to that, there's another building that you sort of have to crawl through, but there is another chest that can spawn there. So you know, it's a little extra loot that you can grab, especially if you're trying to get the Infinity Blade at the beginning of the game. A lot of people are going to be dropping here, so I think it'd probably be best to try and get some items first, and then try and eliminate some of the people going for the sword and maybe pick it up that way. Honestly, guys, right now it needs to settle down. A ton of people drop here at the beginning of games. It gets pretty crazy, but yeah, if you know some loot spots, it can definitely help you out. But yeah, let's jump into the details of the Infinity Blade itself, and also that rarity that I was talking about, how it's different from like legendary and epic and things like that. But yeah, first of all, here is some gameplay of the Infinity Blade. If you really want to try it out yourself when you get a time to actually play, definitely the best way to do so is to just go into playground mode, just land there by yourself, and you know, try it out. That way you don't have to run into other people in the normal modes, and you can get a feel for it before actually going into game itself. Now, with this item, there are a lot of details with it. It's first of all fairly similar to the Thanos like gauntlet, I think it was called. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but from way back when in that limited time game mode. But first of all, some details before you even get into the attacks. You will drop all of your items when you pick it up, so everything in your inventory will just be dropped onto the ground, similar to the Infinity Gauntlet. But then your movement speed will also be increased to 130%, which isn't a ton, but you will notice it a little bit. You can move around a bit faster, and I guess that's just a nice little change. On top of that, when you pick it up, at least at the start, I'm not sure if it happens when you pick it up off the ground, but you will get 200 health and 200 shield, which is a very, very nice thing to have, because you know, you do have to get in close, so you're gonna probably take a bit of damage in doing so. There's also a couple of other things, but first of all, with the attacks, it actually acts sort of similar to the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet. Obviously, it doesn't have like the laser or any distance, you know, attacks, but you do have 2 separate attacks. The first of which is this sort of spin move, and that is triggered, like for me, it's on the fire button or right trigger, and then the other move is triggered with the left trigger for me, or the aim down button, whatever you want to call it. But that is actually like a lunge that is fairly similar to the one that Thanos had. But keep in mind with these guys, they do separate amounts of damage. The first of which, with that, you know, primary fire one where you sort of spin around, that can do 75 damage to players, which is definitely a good amount because you can actually trigger it back to back fairly fast. But then with the alternate fire, the one where you actually lunge forward, that one only does 25 damage. So it's something to keep in mind, guys. That alternate fire doesn't do a lot of damage, but it can help you move around fairly fast. I'd be careful doing it from like really tall heights though. I'm not sure, but I thought I saw some people take damage that way. But again, not 100% sure about that. On top of that though, something interesting is that you can build in this mode when you have it picked up, which is actually really nice. You couldn't do that with the Thanos thing. So if you're getting fired at, you can actually defend yourself a bit. And then you also have regeneration of effective health over time for your shields and health, which is 1 HP per second, which is definitely pretty nice. On top of that, you also get a burst of health, I believe, maybe health and shields. It only says health, but 50 HP for every elimination you get, which will just help you to heal a little bit because you can't really use bandages or heals when you have this item. And then about the rarity, okay? This isn't something that's like huge, but I still think it's interesting because it hasn't happened, I believe, since we had the Thanos game mode. So if if you take a look at the Infinity Blade in your inventory, you will see that it is a rarity that is different from the 5 main rarities. It is above legendary and is actually the mythic rarity. That is right, guys, mythic rarity. That is quite crazy because, again, it's above legendary. That's just kind of funny to think about. So yeah, these crazy items like this are the mythic rarity ones, but that leads me to wonder, like, what if we had mythic rarity skins or something like that? How crazy would those skins have to be in order to get the mythic rarity status? And could we ever see them in the game? I mean, I don't know about that. Again, they would have to be like super unique. I could have seen maybe like some reactive items being mythic if they had like some super special effects, even crazier than the ones we have now. But again, it would have to be way crazier than any legendary item we've had. So who knows? But it is something fun to, you know, like talk about. But let's get into some of the like secret changes that I think are super helpful. And like this first one here is a change to the stormwing. Now it's nothing like huge to how the stormwing works. It still flies normally, still can fire normally, still has the same amount of health. But one good change that they did make to it, and this is one that a lot of people thought should be added, is that if an enemy is in a stormwing and you destroy the stormwing that they are in, that enemy and also any other opponents riding like on the wings will take 25 damage. Definitely a helpful change. Something like this needed to be made. I still think a couple of other nerfs could be added to this stormwing. Personally, I think it is a little bit too powerful the way it is, but this is definitely a good step, I feel. Now 25 damage may be a little bit too little, but I guess we'll have to just see and test it out over the next week and see what we think about it. Maybe it is a good amount. Maybe it could be pushed up to like 50 and that would be a good middle ground. Not 100% sure, but keep that in mind, guys. So destroying stormwings definitely can help you out and will deal a little bit of damage to that opponent. But yeah, guys, let's keep it going here with something that has to do with creative. There was actually so many changes that have been made to this mode, and I think I may make a separate video about like a bunch of them, as well as some other things with creative as well. But I did want to pick a few of them out that I thought were pretty important, and like this first one here is pretty cool because they added some new prefabs to the ones that you can throw onto the map. And as you can see here, guys, they are the lucky landing buildings and stuff like that. Now they added 6 new ones specifically for the lucky landing stuff, and they're pretty interesting overall. It's fun, you know, throw them down and you've got, you know, the tall building, the one that's sort of shorter. You've also got the one that has the pink tree with it, which is pretty cool as well because then you can, you know, add the pink tree to some of your builds. It's definitely fun to see some new things and items to mess around with when building with stuff because I've been having a lot of fun with it. Been building some cool things that I may show you guys later on. But yeah, they added some new prefabs like that, so be sure to check them out. And then something else that's pretty interesting, they added island codes, which are right now there's for like a few select people as they're testing them out, I believe. And then they say that eventually they are going to open it up so you can like share your islands with friends. So I think like I could even maybe share maps with you guys. I'm not 100% sure about that. Again, it's in like limited access right now. I think that's how it will work. But as of right now, most of us can't use the code system, but there is something else that you can do. If you go into the creative mode, the main island, you will see that there are some featured builds on there. Now right now there's some from like Wildcat over here, and also I think Bayesian Canadian. If you go into this one, there's a racetrack that you can try with some ATKs. I think there's another racetrack as well, but as you can see, you can like drive around it and it's a completely separate one that you can have fun with. So I'm assuming they're probably going to like cycle through featured ones and feature maps from the community that you can play on once in a while and have fun with. There's also like a hide and seek one, but yeah, they are pretty cool, and I believe there's 4 in total. And then after that, guys, moving on to something else that's a pretty huge change for creative, especially if you're trying to build something for the block. But if you're trying to build something and get it featured on there, this is a great thing to just help you when you're building it. And it is definitely kind of secret because it's hidden in the island selection menu. So if you go to the main island, the way that you get to this new, you know, the block island is by going over to your rift and then selecting the thing that lets you choose your island. Now, when you're in that menu, you want to scroll down because as of right now, it usually only shows the first 4, but if you scroll down, there's an extra one right there. So if you select that one and then go into the rift once it loads, you will see that it is this brand new area right here. Now, this is the size of the block, so it will help you, you know, figure out how much space you have to build. It also has a little bit less things on the map, so you can keep it efficient in how many builds you're using and stuff like that. It's also pretty funny how the rest of it is like this blue grid, which can help you build other stuff as well. Even if you just want to build a fun map out here, you can do so because this is like the ultimate blank canvas for you to use. And honestly, I was building something. I kind of wish I could transfer it over to here because it's just a little bit easier to build over here. But I'll probably let you guys see what I'm building soon once I finish it. I'll probably just have to continue it on the island that it's on. But yeah, guys, that can definitely help you out. Now, moving on here to a bug fix that is super helpful. I'm so glad they supposedly fixed this. At least I think they fixed it, judging by what is said in the patch notes. But I'll read for you specifically what it says here. It says that there is a speculative fix for players moving after being eliminated. Now again, I'm not sure why they put speculative in front of that, but hopefully it is fixed. I haven't really tested it out, but that is that bug where, you know, you got an elimination on somebody, but they would continue to move for a little bit. I'm assuming that that is now fixed for the most part because of this. Again, it's worded a little bit odd that maybe it still shows up once in a while. Not 100% sure, but what do you guys think? Have you been playing and you haven't noticed this happening anymore? I'm curious to see what you guys have to say, because I would hope that that bug fix is indeed working, because that was kind of annoying. Now, hopefully they're making some improvements to ping on East servers. I've been having a few games that are a little bit off. Have you guys been having off games too, where your ping is like really up there, and then in other games it's like perfectly normal? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Now, for this last one, guys, I just wanted to go into creative to show you how exactly it works. Again, there's so many creative changes that I couldn't fit them all into this video, but this one was pretty cool that I thought I would add it. I thought it was, again, one of the more important ones, and that's what we're featuring in today's video. So yes, here we are on my blank one of the islands. But yes, this thing is actually the item spawner. If you go into here and click equip with this right here, you will notice that there is a sort of red icon that is now added into creative. So once you place like a floor down or something like that, you can then take out the item spawner and place it down wherever you want, again, as long as there is a floor piece to place it down on. Now, once you have that, you can then place an item on top of it, or specifically just drop it. And when you drop it, it'll get pulled into the center, and then it'll start to glow. And then after a little bit, you will see that it spawns right there. And then I think you can, like, when you're playing, you can run into it and pick it up. You have to like mess with the island settings, but again, you just drop an item and then it gets pulled into the center, and then it'll spawn in a little bit. And come on, there you go. But yeah, it's definitely a pretty interesting thing for if you're creating like a little fight zone or whatever you want to call it. And then you can have a map where you're playing with your friends and have like spawns around the map like that. So it is a pretty cool, interesting little change. They've definitely been adding a ton to creative, so it's fun to take a look at. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to subscribe for more fun videos coming out in the near future. On top of that, be sure to check out some of my previous videos here, such as on the left, going through some crazy Season 7 secrets, and then on the right, a bunch of changes in Season 7 that you may not know. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one.